Hey, it's John at Tinderbox Arts. This is the Givi model V47 monokey top box, and I've had this for quite a few years now. I've been very happy with it. But there is one thing I always wanted to do, which was to add auxiliary brake lights. This panel right here and one on the other side is removable, and you can put the LED lights in there for auxiliary brake lights. Now, the company itself makes a kit, which is about $70. That kit includes the lights themselves and also a mechanism so that you can remove the top box and have the wiring kind of stay in place. There's nothing you need to disconnect when you remove the top box. And there's another company that makes a lighting kit which is even more expensive. But both of those were more money than I wanted to spend. And frankly, I really just leave this top box on all the time. If there is an occasion where I remove it, if I had to disconnect a wiring harness, it really wouldn't be a big deal to me. So for me, the extra money just isn't worth it. And what I decided to do was to just source some generic LED lights, which have a little bit of wiring associated with them as well, and install those. And I'll have my own connector, which is hidden, and it'll be weatherproof, but I will have to physically disconnect it if I remove the top box. So that's fine with me. In a previous video, I showed this hex ezCAN device, how I installed that, and it has 4 available circuits for me. I used one of them for an oil cooler fan previously, and now I'm going to activate another circuit for these auxiliary brake lights. So the nice thing about this hex ezCAN, which I installed in a previous video, you can look at that, is that I can change these circuits, 4 available, to pretty much anything I want. So I'm just going to pick the yellow circuit, doesn't really matter. And I can choose here brake, which is what I'm going to choose. And now I can set the parameters that I want. So if I scroll down here, what I've done here, I have running light intensity. Now I'm not going to have this additional brake light as a running light. I'm just going to leave it off when it's not in use. And then brake light intensity 100% when it's actually on. And then I've selected California legal flashing, which basically means it flashes a few times when you first hit the brake, and then it goes solid. Now, I've set up a test rig here. I've just temporarily connected a couple wires here, and here's a LED light that I had just laying around. Now, watch what happens when I press the brake pedal now. It flashes and then goes solid. When I take my foot off the brake, it goes away. On, flashes, and then goes solid. So that's just what I want. So that's all I need to do to set up this circuit, and I can do that in advance even. It's completely separate from the actual wiring. So with all that done, I can do the actual wiring now. I've taken the luggage off the bike, and I've been fussing for a few minutes here trying to figure out how I'm going to run this electric. One problem is getting the wires from the hexcan device here to the general area of the box, and the second problem, of course, is running the lights themselves and the wiring inside the box. So we'll get to inside the box in a second. First, I want to figure out how to get the wires to the box. So what I've determined is, I think I'm going to run the wires from here. There's plenty of open space in here to run the wires. If I come around the back here, I remove the brake light assembly here just to get some sense of how this is all constructed, and there's a wide open hole right in here, so I can easily run the wires underneath here. And in fact, I could even sneak them where this mounts right here. There's an open space right here, so I could sneak some wires up in here, and I think underneath this whole mounting area would be a great place to put the connector itself. So I'm going to assume I'm going to get the wire up here and one side of a connector underneath here. And then I'm going to assume I have the wires coming out from the bottom of the top box. And there's a knockout right here, I'll show you in a second, on the bottom of the box. And then, I don't know if you can see this on camera, you might be able to, but there's a knockout right here. See, there's a little circular area right here. That's intended to be for wires. So I can either drill or knock that out. And I took a fairly large connector here, and I think that will fit through that hole. So I'm going to assume I'm going to drop that connector through the hole when I put a top box on. It'll come down, come out right here, and there will be a little bit of wire showing here, but I don't think it'll be too noticeable. And I'll just bring that around, and so I'll make my connection right under here. So with the top box just loosely on top here, you can see, I hope, right under here is the knockout from the factory meant for the electrical wiring. So that hole will meet this hole right here. So when I drop this down, that wire will come right through there. And if I look inside the box, right here is that knockout hole. So we have, in this area right here, there's a little plastic cover. There's a screw here and a screw here. That cover comes off, and that's where we'll be putting the lights. We'll get to that in a minute. The wires will come out here, and then I'll run them along the side here. This is designed to prevent the top half of the box from, flopping over. So we'll use this, run the wire along here, and then down to the bottom. I normally keep a cover over this whole bottom anyway, so the wires will be underneath that, and they'll exit right here. So I think that's going to work. As usual, I'm using this protective sleeving so the wires don't rub through on the frame anywhere. And now I've got this run here, so I have my one side of the connector here. It runs down, I didn't have to drill, it runs down through here with the protective sleeving and inside under the seat, and that's where I'll connect it to the ezCAN device. All right, the bike half is done really, other than connecting to the ezCAN. Now I'm going to take these panels off here, which have some screws that are a little ornery, but this is the top of the case we're looking at here. I'm taking these little covers off so I have access to the area where the LED lights are going to go. Now with those two little screws out on the other side, I can take this little panel off here. And it's actually made of two pieces. From here you see where those little holes are, presumably for the lights. But if I turn this over, you can see I can actually remove that. And I intend to get rid of that. There's really no reason to have it. It's just going to be in my way, and I don't need it. So that's going to go away. And then in this area right here, there's a rubberized gasket which keeps water out. And this will go back over that, and my lights will go in there. Now these are the LED lights I intend to use. They're red LEDs, so that will fit in there like that, I hope. There is some flexibility to it, and this is supposed to be waterproof anyway, so I have 2 layers of waterproofing. That shouldn't be a problem. So the hope is I can fit this in there, and it looks pretty good, just like that. And then I'll put this cover back over it. Now I do need to drill a hole for this wire to come through, so I'll do that on the other side. And we should be able to get that in there fairly easily. This has self-stick tape right here, so that'll just go right in there like that. That'll be perfect. I will link to this in the comments. Okay, the lights are secured in there. You can see that self-stick tape doesn't work very well, but really it doesn't matter. They're totally trapped in there and pretty securely so. Once I get the screws on the other side of this cover, it's just in there. So you can see them through the clear plastic there, but that doesn't bother me. So if we look on the other side now, I have the wire coming through here, and now I just need to secure that wire along the edge here, and then I'll bring it along here so I can get to the hole in the bottom. I have some clips here which also has self-stick tape. I don't know if that's going to work, it may not, but I don't really have any other options at the moment. I will cover this wire in that sleeve so it's protected. So we're going to give this a try and see how long it lasts, I guess. Actually, I think these cable clips are going to stay. They seem pretty well stuck on there. So I think that's going to work. Now I will tie that together so that it won't move when I'm opening and closing it, and then I'll just do the same thing on the bottom, and then when I get both of these in the bottom, I'll make a connection here, and then it's going to go out this little hole which I'll drill through here. Then I'll put the connector on not before, and then we should be pretty much in business. All right, I got everything back together again. Just took some time to do the wiring. If we look on the inside here, the wiring comes out here. I took the time to do the sleeve and heat shrink at the end of the sleeve, so it's solid, and even if something rubs against it, it won't be a problem. It snakes its way down here and then goes under this cover, which I always keep in here anyway, so that's definitely well protected. Now, as you come out here, I'll look underneath, and this is the only thing you're going to see, this little cable right here. Again, I have the sleeve, I have the heat shrink. You know, it'd be nice if this were completely hidden, but I don't really have a problem with the way that is right now. You don't really see it. And it sneaks in from the box here, goes through this, and comes out. Now, I could definitely drill a hole right here if I wanted to. Maybe I will in the future, but for right now, it's fine. If you stand back a little bit, you can hardly see it. The only extra pieces I have were these little things right here, which I took out and I will no longer need. If you look through the clear plastic lens, you can see the LEDs. Now we'll do a little test here. I have the camera set up right about at the height that you would be if you're driving a typical SUV. I'll turn this bike on, and hopefully these brake lights will work after all this. Give it a second to power up, and I'll hit the brake. Let's see what it looks like. That's pretty good. I can even see from here. And I was most concerned about trucks that are higher looking down on the bike, and this will allow them to see the top box even if the brake light underneath is hidden. So I think this is pretty good. Those LEDs could be a little bit brighter probably, and if I searched out other ones, maybe there are some that are brighter, but I'm fairly pleased with this. So all in all, I think this worked out pretty well.